So if I'm going to please God, I must be willing to apply faith in every situation that represents my household. All right, now, I don't have the time to teach a whole lesson on the faith, but I wanted to put that there so that we can go and begin to dig in the Word. In Joshua 24:15, many of you know that, but let's look at it one more time. You know that, let's look at it. Joshua 24:15 says, and if it seems evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day who ye will serve, whether the gods of, watch this now, whether the gods which your fathers served and that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwelled. You see that? Now, that would represent gods on the other side with their forefathers, how you were raised in the past, how your parents and their parents were raised, and how they treated a household. You take all your experience from how you were raised, how your parents were raised, and how their parents were raised, and you've adopted those habits into now, that's the God of your fathers. Are you with me? The Amorites, the place of your dwelling, your environment, how you've seen others raise their kids or be married or be in a home situation, and how they manage it. You have taken your the way they do it. So the minute I think there's something wrong, I say, okay, we gotta pray that the devil is trying to get at us, because he's after the household. The devil wants to destroy the house, not the individual. He wants to destroy that house. That's what he's after. You got what I'm saying? He wants the household torn, because the blessing is on the house. And I explained it to you so you can have in your head. So when you go back and examine your household, find out how much of it is run with the Bible and how much is run from past experiences or fears and things that you've had to deal with, that you brought it into how you treat your children, you know, how you treat your husband, how you treat your wife, how the household is treated as a whole. So you have a way of examining that. Once you examine it, you can see how far you are and where you need to go.
Start applying these faith principles, and you will see the manifestation. Call to place your order today at 877-604-6762.
All right, so if I'm going to please God, I must be willing to apply faith in every situation that represents my household. All right, now, I don't have the time to teach a whole lesson on the faith, but I wanted to put that there so that we can go and begin to dig in the Word. In Joshua 24:15, many of you know that, but let's look at it one more time. You know that, let's look at it. Joshua 24:15 says, and if it seems evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day who ye will serve, whether the gods of, watch this now, whether the gods which your fathers served and that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwelled. You see that? Now, that would represent gods on the other side with their forefathers, how you were raised in the past, how your parents and their parents were raised, and how they treated a household. You take all your experience from how you were raised, how your parents were raised, and how their parents were raised, and you've adopted those habits into now, that's the God of your fathers. Are you with me? The Amorites, the place of your dwelling, your environment, how you've seen others raise their kids or be married or be in a home situation, and how they manage it. You have taken your the way they do it, and you've adopted that and brought that to your house. Okay? Now you say, well, not everybody. Some people, you know, when you go in families, the curse follows people who create and reproduce habits. That's how the curse track you. When you're a believer, you're no longer under a curse. So you don't have to obey the old stuff. You got it? All right, now some of y'all say, what are you talking about? Listen, you find out ain't nobody been married 4 or 5 generations. Or women get married and they can't keep a husband. Or a man get married and can't keep a wife. Or a man that can't commit. You follow his lineage, you'll follow a bunch of men that have hard times making commitments. They call that the curse. The reason the man can't keep the commitment because he's reproducing the habits that he learned in times past. Are y'all listening to me? All right, so what we do, we look at the word of God for our pattern. You got it? For successful homes and happiness. So it says here excuse me, it says here, the God of the Amorites, whose land ye dwell, it says, but as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. So he made it clear that there was a difference in serving God of heaven than serving the other gods' ways. You got it? So separation. So in your house, you have to make that declaration of you and your household is going to serve God, which means you're going to do it God's way. See, that has to be a decision that every head of household has to make so that God has the liberty to talk to you. If you don't make that clear in your household, then you don't give God the liberty to talk to you. It makes you stubborn. Well, I go to church and listen to what God has to say to me, but, you know, I'm the head of my house. I'm going to run my house the way I want to run it. The Lord ain't got to run my house, you know. They ain't said, you know, publicly, but that's the way they act. And so if God want to talk to them about their children or talk to them about their household, talk to them about something, he can't get in. They got them blocked. And so you don't get the freedom of faith to work in there because God can't get in there. There's no faith applied. Are y'all with me? All right, y'all don't wave at me, y'all here. All right, because what am I doing? I'm laying the foundation. So there's no escape. Okay? Because we seeing it, we see the difference. I explained to you what the difference was, the curse, and I explained it to you so you can have in your head. So when you go back and examine your household, find out how much of it's run with the Bible and how much is run from past experiences or fears and things that you've had to deal with, that you've brought it into how you treat your children, you know, how you treat your husband, how you treat your wife, you know, how the household is treated as a whole. So you have a way of examining that. Once you examine it, you can see how far you're off and where you need to go. And once you start implementing it with faith, then you'll start seeing the hand of God unfold. But I have one desire. And when you have a desire to please God, everybody else will get the overflow of your relationship with God. You don't have to worry about pleasing people. I tell people all the time, God's standards are so much higher than man's. We keep saying God don't require all that. He does. Jesus said stuff like, if a person commit adultery, you know, so on, so on, so on. Jesus said, if you think about committing one, you did it. You gonna tell me that ain't higher? He said, if you think of it, you done it. To me, that's a higher standard. You got it? So all things like that, God requires higher. So when he starts to deal with you individually and you start to have a desire to please him, then you're open for him to talk to you. Families don't have the voice of God in their household. They have reasoning and past experiences and how their head feels at the time. Whole lot of guessing going on in homes. Whole lot of guessing. People just make stuff up. Well, I thought that was right to do because, you know, so-and-so did it. You're like, well, what? Why would you think that that was okay? I ain't see nothing wrong with it. I didn't see nothing wrong. So you measure your whole household from your perspective and not God's. And that's how most people make decisions in their house. From their perspective. And you don't want to do that. You want to make it from God's perspective, right? All right. Let's look at it. I know y'all say, okay, here we go. All right. Let's look at 1 Peter 3. 1 Peter 3. All right, we'll do a little reading scriptures. I know it can't be. Is it 1 Peter 3? No, I think. Let me make sure I got that right. Hang on in there. Hang on in there. Yeah, 1 Peter 3 and 7. Here is something for husbands and wives. I'm throwing this in there. I'll give this more attention next week, but I'm going to just lay it down because these are the things we're going to work from. It says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them, your wives, I mean, according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. That your prayers be not hindered. That your prayers be not hindered. Prayers be not hindered. So it's telling you that right now, when it comes to a husband and a wife, that a man's prayers hangs on how he treats his wife will determine whether or not God will hear him. Look at it very closely, because I want y'all to look at it. You read past that all quickly. Look real close. Look real close at it. Now, what does it say? Will y'all see what it says? All right, now, in any language, look at what it says here. It says, likewise, ye husbands, deal with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto them, the wife, as unto the weaker vessel. Now, I know in today's time, people say, well, what way is she weaker? Well, at the least, she's physically weaker than a man. You take the strongest woman in the world and the strongest man in the world, the man is going to win. So, for y'all go to mentally and education and smarts, well, let's just deal with the physical. All right? So y'all don't start having that argument. Because it's not speaking in terms of the interpretation here, is during that time, women were not allowed to learn and do as much as men during that time. And she was serving her husband, and if she did what was right by her husband, she was considered pleasing God. So she's the one who had the open door with God more than the man, because the man had the obligation of being the head and also treating her fairly and right, not like a piece of property. Because when you keep reading the verse, it says they were heirs together. They are heirs together of the grace of life. Together. Somebody say together. All right? So a household to work right, the parameters are a man must treat his wife right and must treat her according to knowledge. He must not take advantage of her because she's the weaker vessel. He said if he does, he can't talk to God. God will ignore the desires of his heart. Now, to me, if you believe the Bible as a man and you married, then you will put a check on how you're treating your wife. Automatically. You don't have nobody to tell you that. Anybody got to preach a sermon to you, because I already tell you right there, God can't hear you. You can't treat your wife bad and start praying. Can't do it. I can pray God to hear me. No, he just said, your prayers are held up, hindered, they're stopped. They're not allowed to pass this realm to go to the next realm to reach God. They're not allowed. And once that you pray, after you don't do what's right in that area, you pray, he already knows. He can't hear you and respond to you. It's been revealed to God instantly because he can't hear you. Down on your knees crying out to the Lord, begging God. And I think for a lot of men, this is why a lot of men are unhappy, unsuccessful. Doors of their life are shut. Nothing of what they want in life is really happening for them. They live in a state hoping, but the little thing that they need to do, they won't do. And that be with that, and they treat their wife right. If you don't treat your wife right, and in the same house, the chances are the kid's going to be mistreated or mishandled from God's perspective, not yours. Because you could be doing something you think is okay for your children, and God said you shouldn't be doing that, shouldn't be allowing that, letting that go, but you're spoiling them. Y'all, let me get off that. Let me get out of here. Y'all got it? All right, let's look at Ephesians 6, and then we're going to talk. Ephesians 6. Let's go there. All right. Now, Ephesians 6 and 1. Are you there? Y'all need to get these scriptures because I just write them down. You ain't got to, y'all can get them. I can go ahead and start. It says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Can I get amen, parents? Amen. All right. So you see, he actually talks to the children. Paul is not talking to the adults now. He's talking to the children. Children, obey your parents in the Lord. Well, God talks about obedience. Children, obey your parents. He didn't say parents, tell your children I said obey them. He talked to them. Y'all missing that? You should have a legitimate expectation if you're living in a godly home for God to deal with your children about obedience. Because the Bible talks to them. That means God talks to them. That means that they have a conscience. That means that they can hear and sense when they're doing wrong, when they should be obedient. When they're disobedient and you go to correct them, they already know it. All right, y'all don't believe they know. Trust me, they know. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Then it says, honor thy father and thy mother. Children have a responsibility to honor father and mother. Challenge sometimes is if the two parents are not honoring each other, then it makes it difficult for the children to honor the father and the mother. All right? So the parameters of a house should be set. Now, you said, Bishop, what you doing? I'm setting all the parameters so we can talk. I'm setting all the ground rules so when I talk to you, you ain't tripping. Because it says the children are honored of mother and father, right? It says the man's supposed to honor his wife, right? And deal with her according to knowledge. If he don't, the consequences is don't even pray. Because God ain't going to hear you. All right? Now, so if the parents are not honoring each other, how can we have a legitimate expectation for the children to honor their parents when they're learning dishonor? Right? Y'all here? Okay, all right. I know y'all. Let me finish reading. It says, that it may be well with thee, and that thou, let me see, yeah. Verse, honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. So it gives the child a benefit for honoring his parents. So if the child honors the parents, then God said he gives them long life in their obedience to the parents. So their life is not cut short. Are y'all listening to me? Don't go sleep yet. Hang on. I know you're fighting it. But listen, these are all the things that a house, you go into it, you can't see it. You can't see it happen. You see houses all out of order, everybody arguing, disagreeing, nobody's, you know how you do, kids go in and slam doors, I don't want to talk to you, and, okay, y'all act like I'm y'all. All right, just keep looking straight ahead. The two of y'all that, just look at me. I know somebody say, hey, better not. Trust me, there's a whole lot of it going on, though. I used to tell my kids all the time, I say, you can't be slamming doors in here, and you can't not talk in my house. You got to talk in my house, and you got to clean your face up. Clean it up. You got to do it. You got to do it, Y'all don't, that's too much. Don't make them do nothing they don't want to do. Yeah, you're going to be made to do what you don't want to do. The idea that it says parent. All right, okay, y'all, all right. But then the next verse says, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonishment of the Lord. So it commands the father, because during that day, the fathers were the ones that dealt with the children in discipline and stuff. And, when it was a hard situation, it was the fathers that did it. And he said, look, don't provoke them, but bring them up in the nourishment and admonishment of the Lord. He said, bring them up with patience and wisdom. So it says these were the things that had to trigger a right environment. So now if you're a single parent, then you are the father of the house as well. You know, if I can use that term so y'all don't take it, you know, like, you know, what if it's a single parent? I'm on that you the same thing. You got to be patient, you got to be kind, and you got to nurture. You know, you have to, see, you got to know the difference between punishment and discipline. You can't raise your children if you don't know that difference. Because most parents, they think punishment is discipline. Punishment is immediate. Discipline is over time. Because discipline is help them change their course. Punishment is the consequences, the immediate consequences. That's when you spank the child and boom, get them right quick. But then you have to discipline them so they don't return to that. You got to help curve their behavior with something in place besides yelling and screaming and telling them you're going to kill them. Threatening their life. They're going to put you in jail for 3 years' life. But you have to do more than that. I'm trying to get this off here, so y'all hang on a minute. Just want to tilt it back a little bit up. Well, I guess it came on open there. You got to do more than that. So you have to set the point. That's don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It'll be all right. Now, these are the standards that we're setting. So when we're talking, and as I teach throughout the month, you say, okay, you got a chance to review and see where things are. Because you don't have a measuring rod yet, so I'm trying to give you a measuring rod how to do it so the atmosphere in your house can shift, but you got to apply faith to it. Now, here's what I mean by this. Everything you apply faith to, you got to apply it to your children when you're raising them. You know, you got to believe God, you got to trust God, and you got to teach them God's word. You know, you can't make them do it, you know, and push them in the sense, you know, and beat them over the head. You have to be patient, be prayerful, and you have to apply the word. You got it? Now, some will escape through the cracks and they look like they came out all right. You ain't have to do all that too, you know, and it was okay. But they're going to need it later if you don't teach it. You got it? I mean, I need it today, but tomorrow is coming. Look at somebody, tell them tomorrow is coming. Tomorrow is coming. All right, so now I understand that I have to choose life, right? I understand that Ephesians 3:20 says that God can do exceedingly abundantly above all that I can ask or think according to the power that's working in me. So the power of faith in my life will cause me to have an exceptional family life. Because the Bible already teaches that. Then I have already made a decision when Joshua 24:15 that me and my house is going to serve the Lord. That's my standard. We're going to serve God. And in order to do that, I have to learn what that means, but that's my goal, to serve God. Then in Hebrews 11 says, without faith, it's impossible to please God. So I want God to be pleased with my children, with my marriage, with my family at large, and then with the church, me. I want God to be pleased with all that I'm doing. So I have one focus to pray, God, help me to please you in every area of my life. That means my marriage, with my children, in my relationships, that you are pleased. And he says, well, all you have to do is apply faith and I will be pleased to all those areas. Most people have a struggle there. Remember I said, they know how to believe God for cars, houses, jobs, independent of their household, of any other person. When you come to marriage couples, I meet with marriage couples all the time, and the biggest thing I see that there's no faith. She didn't do this, he didn't do that. He won't do this, she won't do that. She keep doing the same thing over and over and over, over and over and over and over, over and over and over. I remember I was very offensive and abrupt, what's the word? What am I looking for? Loud, as he said, loud, you know, and boisterous in attitude. And early on, we get into a heated discussion. You know, I'm at 10, and then I come back and apologize. Next time, 10, come back, apologize. And she said to me one time, I don't know why you apologize. You ain't changing. Said, ain't need to apologize because you're going to do the same thing over and over and over. And I'll say, don't say that. I'm believing God. You can't say that. Don't say that. Don't put that on me. I'm believing God. I'm going to get better. Well, it don't seem like it's working. In the first couple of years, that's what she was saying. We was having kind of discussions. And I was like, no, but I'm standing in faith. I'm going to get this right. See, it wasn't about her. See, it was about, God was not pleased with me getting out of control. So I knew he was not pleased with my actions. That's what helped me modify. When you're trying to please each other, standards are so low. People learn to live with anything. People will live in a house and don't talk for weeks at a time. No conversation going on there. It is going for weeks, and somehow or another they think that's okay. You be like, oh, he was upset. How long you gonna stay upset? So the minute I think it's something wrong, I say, okay, we gotta pray that the devil is trying to get at us. Because he's after the household. The devil wants to destroy the house, not the individual. He wants to destroy that house. That's what he's after. You got what I'm saying? He wants the household Torah. Because the blessing is on the house. And I explained it to you so you can have it in your head. So when you go back and examine your household, find out how much of it's run with the Bible and how much is run from past experiences or fears and things that you've had to deal with, that you brought it into how you treat your children, you know, how you treat your husband, how you treat your wife, how the household is treated as a whole. So you have a way of examining that. Once you examine it, you can see how far you are and where you need to go.
Start applying these faith principles, and you will see the manifestation. Call to place your order today at 877-604-6762.
Join Bishop Stan Williams and the Church 320 this and every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on the west side of Jacksonville, Florida. Experience real praise. Come be a part of real worship and hear a real word to revolutionize your life. The Church 320 is an authentic worship experience. The Church 320 was voted Jacksonville's best place to worship. Join Bishop Stan this week.